Hello everyone, good to see you back again. Welcome to my channel's tutorial section. Today we'll be learning how to carve a permanent maxillary second premolar. Here you can see its different aspects. It's quite similar to first premolar, just less angular, more rounded out from all aspects with a single root. So let's start. First we'll mark the aspects of the tooth: buccal, mesial, lingual and distal. Now we'll mark the crown length at 8.5 mm. And now the root length, which is 14 mm. Next we'll mark the central axis of the tooth, just a rough guideline, and connect this on the top. Now mark the mesio-distal width of the crown, that is 7 mm, but we'll take 0.5 mm extra. Mark it on the opposite side and also on the occlusal aspect of the block. Now we'll cut straight along these markings to the crown length, but first we'll make V-shaped notches at the cervical. Now we'll carve straight down. Mark the labio-lingual width of the crown at 9.5 mm, taking 0.5 mm extra. Make the notches at the markings. Now we'll cut straight down to the markings of the crown length to make a cuboid. Make straight parallel walls within the marked dimensions. Keep verifying the required dimensions. We are done with the cuboid. Now we'll mark the mesio-distal width at the cervical, that is 5 mm, on labial as well as on the lingual. Mark it dividing equally from the midline. Okay, now from the buccal aspect, the shape is similar to the first premolar with a few differences. Check, this is distal and this is mesial. The mesial outline starts without concavity. It's straighter till the crest of contour, which is slightly above than that of the first premolar. It lies close to the junction of middle and occlusal third, and then follows a straight slope till the cusp tip in the center. This makes the mesial slope shorter. From cusp tip, it has a straight distal slope till the crest of the contour at a level slightly lower than that of the mesial, and then it continues straight to the cervical. This change in the level of crest of contour makes the mesial slope shorter and the distal slope slightly longer, and also makes the cusp height less than the first premolar. Now first we'll make the notches at these markings as we have done earlier in the carvings, extending them labio-lingually. Okay, so we are done with the notches. Now we'll carve the distal outline and the mesial outlines. Starting with the mesial outline, first we'll carve the mesial cuspal slope. Check the angle of the carver. See, keeping it close to the junction of middle and occlusal third. Here is the cervical third, middle third, and above is the occlusal third. So keep it about at this level. Okay. Now we'll carve from the cervical to the crest of the contour and make a broad contact area. See the angle of the carver. Carve straight from the cervical to leave a broad contact area. See now? The broad area left will be rounded off later. Similarly for the distal outline, this is the buccal aspect. We'll keep the crest of the contour slightly below than that of the mesial side. Okay, let's carve. Gradually approaching the midline. Keep a check on the level. Keep distal a little lower. Continue carving at an angle. See now the distal slope is lower and longer. Now just connect from the cervical to the crest of the contour, getting a broad contact area same way as we did on the mesial. See the broad area? See now? Just making the slopes in even plane. Okay, now see the broad contact area and their level. Now we'll just round off at these line angles. Just gentle running off the back side of the carver. See like this. Do it on the other side too. See the contours now? Just a little more work on the slopes to make them even. See now? Now we'll do the labio-lingual carving from the proximal aspects. First we'll mark the labio-lingual width at the cervical, that is 8 mm. Mark it on the both proximal aspects. Okay, so now from the proximal aspect, buccal outline starts from the cervical line, making a small curvature at the crest of the contour at the junction of cervical and middle third, which is about here, and then it follows straight till the cusp tip. The cusp tip, as we discussed in the first premolar, that it is a characteristic feature of all maxillary posteriors that cusp tip lies well within the dimensions of the trunk of the root. And the lingual outline also starts with a long curvature till the cusp tip, which also lies within the trunk dimensions. The crest of the curvature lies in the middle, same as first premolar. So first we'll mark the notches. Like this. Since the buccal lingual dimension is 9 mm and the cervical it is 8, so the notches are just 0.5 mm deep. Just clearing a little at the base. So now we'll carve the buccal outline with short curvature and cusp tip in the line with cervical. So we'll keep our cusp tip about here. Let's carve. Also, one thing to remember is that the occlusal table is wider than the first premolar. It has an open occlusal table. That is, the distance between the two cusp tip is greater than that of the first premolar. Let's continue carving the slope from the cusp tip. Maintaining the angle of the carver blade to carve slope till the crest of the contour at the junction of cervical and middle third. Run carver straight and evenly. Don't develop these kind of bumps. If you develop these, just gently work to make them even. Now at the cervical, carve a short slope till the crest of the contour. See, a little more contour. Similarly for the lingual outline to get the crest of the contour in the middle and the cusp tip within the cervical. Give a slope in the occlusal third. Also give the curvature in the cervical third to get the crest of contour in the middle. Now both cusp tips will be almost at the same level, just the lingual cusp is very slightly lower. This is enough. Now just round off the line angles on the lingual surface to achieve a smooth convex surface. See? A little contouring here. Lowering the slope a bit more. Need to even up the slope. A little more. Okay, like this. Let's clean up first. Okay, now see from the facial side, proximal side. We'll look up for corrections and then we'll proceed. Now this crest of contour needs to be rounded off to make a slight broad contact. Also need to sharpen this lingual cusp tip. Okay, so round off the distal. Very slightly. Also do it on the mesial. See, like this. Now it's fine. Also we'll make the lingual cusp tip sharper. Now we'll proceed with the occlusal aspect. This is the lingual aspect. As seen from the occlusal, it has a feature similar to that of the first premolar, but it has few features that can easily distinguish it. It has a less angular outline than that of a first premolar, with a symmetrical outline giving an oval shape, has a less prominent buccal ridge in the middle, has equal mesial and distal halves. Also, lingual outline is having equal curvatures from both proximal sides. Overall, it's quite symmetrical compared to first premolar. Just like first premolar, on labial aspect, it also has those developmental depressions on each side. The lingual outline will be having smooth convex outline. This runs with equal slopes from both proximal sides. Also, the proximal sides are very slightly tapered to the lingual. They run almost parallel. So first we'll make the mesial and distal slope of the buccal outline, just as in the first premolar, but in equal length. Start carving, keeping in mind the cervico-occlusal contour. Carve to the full length. Like this. See? Continue same on the distal, keeping it little away from the midline so that you can develop labial ridge. Keeping the carver at an angle. Now we'll make the convex lingual outline. It is different from the first premolar since we make the distolingual and the mesio-lingual slopes of equal length, keeping the lingual ridge in the center, basically making a less angular and symmetrical outline. Let's carve. It's quite similar to making slopes on the buccal side. See? Do it similarly on the other half. See now? Let's zoom in. Check it now. This side is lingual. Now we'll round off all the angles a bit and then make depressions on labial side. We are having an oval shape here and we need to make depressions on the labial side. This is a bit similar to what we did for the first premolar. Just little corrections. Slightly more on this side. Now use a Zales carver or a blunt carver to make V-shaped depressions on buccal aspect. Start carving in occlusal 2/3 only. Now slightly deepen it. Similarly on this side too. We are making slightly V-shaped grooves going outwards in the middle third. Let's clean and check. Still depression need to be carved more. See now? Much better, but a little more. Now just merge the depressions with the buccal ridge. Gently running the carver from depression to the buccal ridge and back. Use smooth blunt side of the Zales carver to blend. Use a cotton earbud to polish with very light pressure. A little more still required. Okay. A few corrections are required, we'll do it later. And now we'll just round off the line angles on the lingual. Well, see the shape now? Let's clean and then proceed. Okay, so now see. Let's zoom in a bit. So we'll do some corrections. We'll round off from the base. These angles will be rounded off. These line angles at the proximals will be also rounded off. So let's start. Gentle carving at these areas. Also this part. Let's check now. Seems fine. Just little work on merging these depressions. Rounding off at the cervical. The straight side of the carver is best to round off or to correct the planes or the curves. Seems a little better. Let's zoom out now. Observe for any corrections. Okay, now we need to make this buccal cusp ridge straight, which was inclined mesially in the first premolar. Like this. Do it slowly. See? Just a little more. Had to do it on the tip of the buccal ridge. See, the curvature is also okay. This lingual cusp ridge should be in a semicircular shape. Observe the angle of the carver and also the placement of the carver, which is carving only in the occlusal third. See, we have got a semicircular shape of the cusp ridge. See this way. Better appreciated now. We have got slight straight buccal cusp ridge. Okay. Just smoothen the altered depressions, keeping its edge straight. Now smoothen it to the length of groove. Check now. See? Check from all sides. Smoothen it with the cotton earbud. Let's clean and proceed. Now before proceeding further, let's check the mesio-distal dimension. It seems larger. Yes, it's a bit large. So first we'll reduce it. Don't worry. Now here we get to learn a new lesson on how to correct the dimension and get the shape again. So let's start. Reduce it straight down from the maximum bulge area. The amount by which it is greater should be equally reduced from both sides. Don't worry about the shape, it will be managed. Do it on the other side too. Check dimensions again. Now this is fine. Just getting the occlusal outline corrected at the angles. Now we'll regain its shape. This is mesial. Now we know we need to make the mesial slope shorter than the distal and the crest of the contour at the junction of middle and occlusal third. So let's correct it. Since the end of the slope is little higher now, we'll lower it to the correct location. See? Now also from the lower end of this flattened area. See? Just a little more on the slope. Also contouring it at the cervical from the buccal to proximal side. Okay? Similarly on the distal too. Regain the shape and the location of the crest of the contour again. We'll have to make a longer slope with the crest of the contour slightly below that of the mesial. So lowering the slope from here too. See? Now on distal too. We'll contour buccoproximally at the cervical as we did on the mesial. Fine from buccal aspect. A little work on this ridge connecting the two cusp tips. Check from the lingual. Little contouring on the cervical too from the lingual aspect to proximal. Rest will contour while root carving. Now see? Just need to round off all around. Just gently run a lighter or a blunt carver along the line angles to smoothen them. A little work on depressions too. Just define them a little bit more. Now it's much better. Now observe. Still need to work a little on the curvature of lingual cusp ridge. Okay, so continuing. Need to correct the curvature of this lingual cusp ridge. Gradually achieve the desired curvature by carving at an angle on both proximal angles. See the curvature now? A little more here. See this now? Now it's fine. Okay, now one more thing to add is the very slight mesio-distal taper to lingual outline. Very little. Let's start. To achieve the taper, carve in the lingual half of the proximal side. See like this, very slight taper towards midline from both proximal sides on lingual. Similarly on other side too. See a little more. Okay, let's clean up and then we'll proceed. Okay, so we are done on the occlusal outline from the lingual too. See the outline. Now we'll proceed with the occlusal surface. Occlusal surface has a few distinguishing features from the first premolar. It is quite symmetrical. It doesn't have that mesial tilt of the lingual cusp. It's rather straight and the cusp are in line. Buccal cusp ridge is straight. Lingual cusp ridge is evenly curved. Occlusal table is equally divided into buccal and palatal cusps by a central groove. The central groove is shorter in length than it was in first premolar. It also has multiple supplemental grooves. Buccal and palatal cusps have triangular edges. Let's carve. First we'll mark the central groove, just a short groove. Now carve the cusp ridge inclines from the cusp tip to central groove, just as we did in the first premolar. If we see from the proximal, this incline will be coming from the cusp tip to the central groove below the marginal ridges. Okay, let's do it. Carve from the cusp tip to the central groove in this way. Carve deeper in the center and less on the cusp tip. We are using a lighter and smaller carver. Don't carve in straight line, give curvature. See, like this. Okay. Now same way for the lingual cusp too. Carve incline not only in the center, but also on the mesial and the distal halves. Redefining the central groove. Now see. We just need to straighten this from here. Now it's okay. Continue evening up the inclines. Okay, now we'll make the cusp ridge. Let's zoom in. Okay, we need to develop this cusp ridge over here. We'll carve on the side of the cusp. Also remember, occlusal surface will extend till here also within the cusp ridge. Similarly on the lingual side. Okay. Let's clear the central groove a bit. Okay. Use a Zales carver or slightly blunt carver. Just carve on both sides of the cusp. This will raise a ridge in the middle. Also, we need to maintain this curvature. See? Okay, let's carve. You see the cusp ridge? Carve depressions from here. Stay a little close to the cusp ridge. See, like this. Okay, continue. See how I'm gradually approaching the cusp ridge. Similarly on the other side. See, as we carve the depression on both sides, a ridge gets raised. Continue doing the same. A little more. Okay, see, now you can appreciate the triangular ridge. Carve a little more, approaching the cusp ridge. Like this. Do it on the other side too. These depressions should be carved running towards the marginal ridges to make the triangular cusp ridge. Now see the slopes with the fossa on both sides giving a triangular ridge shape. Just smoothen it a bit. Similarly do for the lingual cusp. Keep an eye on the curve of the lingual cusp ridge. Just a little more defining of the ridge here. Now it's fine. Proceed same as for the buccal cusp. Now see, you can see the cusp ridges and a short central groove. Keep this depression close to the lingual cusp ridge. Elevating the lingual cusp ridge. Just developing an incline of the cusp a bit more. Okay, like this. Check out the features developed till now. Let's check out from a distance. Need a few corrections. Okay, now first we'll deepen these depressions. See? Continue. As I am deepening the depressions, I am also making slight inclines of the cusp too. As stated earlier, these depressions should extend till the cusp ridges. Now see, slight correction for the cuspal incline. Observe from all aspects. Okay, now we need to make multiple fissures extending from central groove. Use light sharp carver. Let's zoom in for a better view. Carve in these grooves to make them slightly defined and widened. Use the tip of thin and light carver. Now use the tip of Zale's carver in the fissures to smoothen out. See how I am running the tip from the middle and raising it while moving outwards. Now I am carving to make the inner incline of the marginal ridge. See? Continue. Continue with the same movements. Now carve the outer incline to develop the edge of the marginal ridge. Similarly on the mesial marginal ridge. First the inner incline. We need to make similar edge on this side too. Now carve the outer incline. A little more on the inner incline. Now we'll refine the supplemental grooves. You can use a sharp explorer or any pointed instrument to give the depth to the fissure. Also the central groove. See? Using a light pointed carver to refine the shape of the fissures. See? Keep removing the small wax flakes. These stick to the carving and very stubborn to remove with brush, since our wax is little soft. Do it very gently. See? Now you can use a blunt tip of the Zales carver to round off the fissure margins. Like this. A little correction at the slope of cusp. Again, use a fine tip to clean the wax debris. Be very gentle while picking up the flakes. Now see. Check again. A little more rounding of the fissure margins. Very sorry for getting out of focus. First I'll clean it properly and then proceed. See now? A little more refining required. Keep cleaning too. Check now. Need to work more. Developing the edge of the triangular ridge a bit more by carving slope on both sides of the edge. Let's polish it using a cotton earbud. See? Seems better now. Again picking up the wax flakes. See? Still a few left. Now let's zoom out. Defining and cleaning the fissures a bit more. See now? We'll finally look up for the corrections and then proceed for root carving. Okay, so now we are done with the crown portion now. See from all aspects. Now first we'll mark the root length again, which is 14 mm. Mark the midline on all aspects. Now we'll proceed with the root carving. But first remember that the second premolar has a single root. From buccal aspect, it's quite similar to the first premolar, evenly tapering from the cervical to apex. The apex may have slight distal tilt. From proximal aspect, it also has taper to apex, but the buccal outline is straighter and the lingual tapers more towards the midline, so the root appears inclined to buccal. Also in second premolar, the root depression on mesial aspect is shallow and that on the distal is deeper, which is opposite to the first premolar. Okay, so let's start carving. First make the notches at the root marking. Now cut straight down to these markings. Verify the length. Continue on the buccal and the lingual aspect to make straight walls. So now we'll clean up and then proceed. So we are done with the straight walls. Okay, now we'll cut straight down at these line angles at the corners. We'll cut straight down till the root marking. Let's carve. See? Need to carve straight from the cervical line too. Use the back side of the carver. Okay, now check. See this bulge here? Need to straighten this and a little near the base here too. Rest is okay. Carve same way as earlier. See? A little straightening at the base here. Seems fine. Okay, now we'll work on the cervical line. The cervical line has a very less curvature, almost flat, just as in first premolar. On mesial side, it has a very slight curvature at a height of 1 mm only. Lingual cervical line has also very slight curvature, almost flat. On distal, it has no curvature. It's same as seen in first premolar. Okay? First, we'll mark the 1 mm mark on the mesial aspect. Like that. Now we'll draw the cervical line very lightly, starting with the buccal side with very slight curvature. On mesial, crest of curvature at 1 mm marking. The slight curvature at the distobuccal, keeping flat cervical line at the distal. Okay, so first we'll carve on the mesial, starting from the mesial root surface from the cervical line, carving with the curved side of the carver. Connecting it to the lingual. Connecting it with the buccal to very slight curvature. At mesio-buccal line angle, it will be slightly up. Similarly on the distal part of buccal following the cervical line. See the angle and the movement of carver from distal to buccal. Now carve a flat surface on the distal following the cervical line, which is flat. Check from the buccal, a little more. Carve to make the root surface flat. Okay, so now similarly on the lingual. Carving straight down from the cervical line. Follow the curvature. Okay, now see the parallel emergence of the root in the cervical third. Now we'll get the even taper from both sides with slight distal tilt of the apex. This distal tilt is common in posteriority. From proximal, as stated earlier, the buccal outline will have taper to apex. It will be straighter than lingual. The lingual outline will be more tapering towards the midline. So from the buccal aspect, first we'll get the taper. Carve more in the apical half. Note this is the mesial side that we are carving. Continue to develop the taper. Gradually connect the taper with the coronal half of the root. Refine following the shape of cervical line using the curved side of the blade. At the base, keep it clean so that you don't lose the root length. Continue developing the taper. Keep checking for the taper. See a small bulge? Check from the lingual side too. Continue to remove the bulge and develop taper, carving more while reaching the apex. See very slight taper. Now carve on the distal, the same way as we did on the mesial. Keep clearing at the base too. Follow the flat cervical line. See the gross taper achieved. Now let's clean first. Okay, now we have a very gross taper. So we'll achieve the final taper with the distal tilt of the apex. Let's continue carving in the apical half. Do same on distal too. See the taper has improved. Now continue for the distal tilt of the apex. Carving more in the apical third of the mesial. See? Now on distal too, but carving a little more above the apex. Keep clearing at the base to maintain the root length. Okay, now see, very slight tilt. See now. Continue to carve from the mesial to develop the distal tilt. Okay, now we'll proceed on the proximal aspect. As discussed earlier, the buccal outline will be straight with very slight taper than lingual outline. Let's carve. Carve straight down from the cervical to build a very slight taper to the apex. Keep checking for the taper. The lingual outline will be straight in the coronal 1/3 and then steep taper to the apex. Let's carve. Carve more in the apical 2/3 to develop the taper. See? Continue. Now see, little more taper on the buccal outline. And a little taper on the lingual too. Keep the base clear. Now see the distal tilt of the apex. See from the proximal too. It requires more taper. Continue carving. More taper from the lingual outline. Keep checking. A little more taper in the apical 2/3. See, it's better now. Continue to even up the taper. Adding a little more taper on the lingual outline towards the buccal. See? A little taper from the buccal too. Clear the base. Okay, now see the shape. Very gross with sharp line angles and few bulges. We'll correct them. Now let's clean and then we'll proceed. Okay, now we have prepared our root grossly from all aspects. See? Now we'll carve these line angles and round them off from all the sides. Just carve straight down at these line angles. Carve from the cervical line, giving the root taper to the apex. Okay, let's carve now. Do it using backside of the carver with firm carving strokes. Starting from the cervical line. Keep carving in same motion and moving towards the proximal to merge and contour the proximal surface. Now continue same for the angles, following the root taper and merging. See, the taper is coming better now. Continue. Carve a little more above the apex on distal to achieve the distal tilt. Continue carving the line angle starting from the cervical line. Merging the proximal surface with buccal at the line angle. Carving little at the apex on mesial aspect to get the distal tilt. See? Continue with the line angle. See? Now similarly on this side. See this bulged angle? Keeping the base clear. See? Need to work near the cervical of the distal. Smoothing and refining near the cervical. I'm using the tip and the curved side of the blade here. Since the curve of the blade is long, so it won't create any concavity here. Even the taper with gentle carver strokes. Okay. Also clean the carver clean. See now, look up for corrections. Need to correct this convexity of the lingual outline to keep it within the cervical width. This side seems fine. Just to add a little taper to the apex. A little work at the cervical of the distal. Need to make it a bit flat. So first we'll start from here only. Gentle carver strokes following the cervical line. Connecting it with the facial cervical line. Keep it flat here on the distal. Merge with the remaining portion. See, like that. Now this mesial line angle. See the carving strokes coming from proximal to labial. Merge it with the remaining portion of the line angle. See? Just slightly on this side to get the rounded contour. Again, merge with the remaining. Like this. Now let's work at the apex. Clear at the base from the mesial. And on the distal too. Carve a little above the apex. See? A little more. Now merge it with upper portion. Like this. Now we'll work on the lingual outline. We'll get the convexity within the cervical dimension. Carve straight down from the cervical. Hold the tooth and not the base. Root apex can easily break at this point. Redefine the cervical line, it's almost flat. Continue leveling up the root, removing any sharp line angle. See, now it's better. within the cervical and then taper. Just add a little taper at the apex. Clearing at the base. Adding slight taper at the buccal apex. Even up the root surface with gentle strokes using backside of the carver, removing all sharp line angles. See, like that. Just very slight taper at the apex here. Well, it will be better to do it at last, as it will become weak and might break while making the depressions. Let's check other aspects. Just a small bulge near cervical. Now merge with the proximal sides. Now shape is fine from all sides. Just a little here. Refine this distal cervical line. It comes flat from the buccal to the lingual. Okay, now we'll make the root depressions. As we have discussed earlier, the distal root depression is deeper than the mesial, just opposite to that of the first premolar. Okay, so let's carve. Start making the depressions using the blunt backside of the Zales carver. Keep the buccal root thicker. Carve a groove. See, now merge it with the buccal and the lingual side of the root. Use the back smooth side to smoothen it. Extend it close to the apex. Now smoothen to remove any sharp line angles and give a contoured surface to the roots. Define to give a depth to depression. See? Now merge. See, it's simple. Just like that. Need to even slightly more. See, the direction of the Carve movement is from depression to outer surface. See, slightly flatten here. Similarly do on the mesial side, but keep it shallower than the distal. Merge it same way as we did on the distal. Just like that. A little more. Use cotton earbud to further smoothen and polish. See? Okay, so we are done. Now we'll clean up and look up for the corrections. Okay, so now we'll do the final check. A little irregularity here. Even it up following the contours. A little smoothing here. Little here at the cervical too. And we are done. Just finish and polish with the cotton earbud. Don't rub with too much pressure. Okay, so here is our completed maxillary second premolar. Now observe from all aspects: the buccal, the distal, see the root depression, the lingual, the mesial with less developed root depression, and the occlusal with symmetric outline. And now try to carve one. I hope this video was useful, so keep practicing and keep carving.